Hey guys, welcome to BrickStars. In today's video, we're going to be continuing on with designing our own Lego basketball league based on the Castle Factions from Lego. You can see here the shields from, I would say, again, more than 90% of the Castle Factions. If you've been following this series, you know this is part 3. These are the shields and factions we've covered to date. And in today's video, we're going to be adding another 6 to that list. So we're getting there, we're getting close. We almost have the full league designed. You can see the 6 that we're going to focus on in this video, and I'm super excited for these. We've got a mix of some newer factions, older factions, some stuff that was maybe short-lived, but you can see the Royal Knights, Green Chevrons, Ravens, Skeletons, Lions, and Crowns. And a friendly reminder again, some of these we've taken the liberty to rename and maybe rebrand in a way of our own, but again, very closely based on the Castle Factions that Lego released. So taking a look at the league as it stands today, you can see we've got a ton of teams done, but there's still a lot to go. So make sure you subscribe and follow along to see the remainder of the league as we finish it. So let's kick things off. Like I said, there's a lot to cover in today's video, some very cool factions. One of my all-time favorite Lego Castle Factions and series are the Royal Knights. And who wouldn't love this? Beautiful vintage 90s style sets. I love the simplicity of the figs, but you can see the branding throughout the shields, the torsos, the horse barding, there's flags. Great looking set. Touches of black and gray. So I think there's a lot to draw from here. And looking at the logo, the first thing we wanted to mimic was kind of this red and white two-toned look. So I think this line head does a great job of capturing the simplicity of the Lego line and making it logoized, if you will, so it looks more like a sports team. But really sharp looking line here, and I love the balance of colors, trying to work with the red and white, touches of yellow throughout, and then just a hint of that blue to put everything together. So looking at the uniforms, nothing too crazy here. You can see we've taken inspiration from the checker design of the king himself and really focusing on that black and yellow around the trim. What's really cool here is the waistband draws inspiration from the torso print as well, and I think this actually worked out really good. It's a little pop of color and a unique element to an otherwise not so crazy design. On the away uniform, we've got red as the base, and I really like the focus of red here, and I think the black and yellow pop that much more on this one. And then keeping in line with the same template, we've just colored it to blue, and we've simplified the word mark a bit here so it doesn't use 2 colors. It's just the white bordered with the red, but I think it looks pretty sharp as well. And kept the black waistband here, again a nod to the torso print that we saw on the king himself. We get a little bit different here with the city uniform, and black was the main inspiration here based on the knight from those sets. I think he was called the Black Knight, and even though he's wearing red here, you can see a lot of black elements there. Just a simpler design. You'll notice a lot of our city stuff tends to use the logo on the jersey instead of the word mark, which is kind of a modern trend in basketball uniform design. And we've updated the waistband a little bit, and the logo on the shorts is the shield itself. So I do like the color balance that this one has as well. And just looking at all 4 uniforms again, I think we did a pretty good job of balancing the colors, the white, the red, the blue, and the touch of black. And the checkerboard, I think, stands out on its own. Of course, some could argue that it's perhaps fitting for the Croatian national team basketball jersey, which I'm sure it could work as well, but here it's for the Royal Knights. Moving along to the green chevrons, one of the oldest Lego Castle Factions. And so we wanted to give them this simple, roundel, clean, modern logo. This is something that we've seen a lot of teams in the NBA and around the world do, is just going back to more simpler designs. With everything kind of being digital nowadays, you don't want a logo that's too crazy. You want something that can look good on a website, on a letterhead, and so on. And I think the green chevrons do that. I love the color balance, and you can see a little bit similar to the Toronto Raptors logo. There's some elements here of Michigan State perhaps, and of course the colors very reminiscent of what the Celtics use for their kind of retro themed gear, but very unique in its own way as well. I love how much the yellow and green pop on the uniforms here, and the word mark is very cool. It's kind of a old school medieval font, but a very modern, if you will, jersey design. So I think those kind of balance each other out, and it turned out pretty good here. I also do like the away uniform is more focused on the green, and I think the yellow piping here just pops out a little bit more, and you can see the simplicity of the triangles here. We had a bit more of them on the white uniform, and then on the alternate uniform, yellow and green, the focus very Seattle Sonics-y. If you're an NBA fan, you'll recognize this. Of course, the chevron is very similar to the current Raptors uniforms that they wear, but I really like how this turned out, and there's not too much green, but just enough that it pops. And you can see on the shorts here too, I like how this design worked out with the logo there. Very clean and classy look. And something a bit wild on the city uniform. Some people may ask, well, why the gray color? You can see the original yellow castle. A lot of these knights feature that gray armor, and you can see the green chevron knight here as well. So I think it's fitting, and I do love this subtle green chevron built into the fabric, if you will, and just a simple recolored shield here. And we get our first look at that secondary logo of the knight on the shorts, which makes it a bit more unique as well. So really cool looking set. I'm thrilled how this one turned out, and would like to see these in real life produced, how they'd look on the basketball court, but I think they'd look pretty sharp. Moving things along, we've got the Ravens. The Raven Knights, Tournament Knights, Black Crows. I've seen them called a couple different things. Nonetheless, we've named them the Ravens, and you can see here we've got this very cool looking raven. I love how the black and yellow and this dark red pop together, and then the gray and black, of course, very much in line with the Ravens. And this is the minifigure we're talking about. So this was a knight from the collectible minifigure series, one of my favorite minifigures that I have in my collection. And honestly, there was a lot of different directions we could have gone with this design. You can see his belt here and the leg print along with the chainmail around the neck. You know, he's got yellow on one half, black on the other. Lots of different directions we could go with this one, but we wanted to draw inspiration from the raven itself, and you can see the feathers there, bold, black. I think it works pretty good for a basketball uniform. Colors are kind of Pittsburgh Steelers, if you will, but I do like the balance of black and yellow between the numbers and the word mark here. Of course, the minifigure has, you know, those colors kind of equally balanced, so we tried to do the same as well. And then adding just a bit of that black and yellow throughout the uniform with touches of the dark red. Very minimal, but enough where I think it's noticed. On the away uniform, a little bit different here. We thought it'd be cool to include that gray kind of shading from the raven onto the uniform as well. And I think the word mark here pops a little bit more with the yellow and the red against the black backdrop. And the elements, the logo elements, I think tie in nicely too. We've decided to use the shield in this case on the waistband. I think this is a great design shield, so it was a shame not to incorporate it onto the design of the uniform. And on the alternate uniform, nothing crazy. Again, we're using the same template, just recolored it yellow. Sometimes we like to design a whole new template for the alternate. In this case, because again the black and yellow are so equally used on the minifigure, we thought it was fair to keep the same template throughout. But we did do a bit of a departure on the city uniform, and you can see it's kind of inspired by the Baltimore Ravens NFL team in terms of using kind of these Maryland flag details, but I do love how they worked out on this uniform, and the black and yellow here really do pop against that gray. I did experiment a bit with making a dark red uniform, but I think using the red in a more subtle fashion is more fitting for the minifigure, more fitting in line with the minifigure that Lego designed. So overall, here's the 4 uniforms, and that's the Ravens. Next up, we've got the skeletons. This one was interesting, you know, I do like how it worked out. It's kind of got this Grim Reaper skeleton here, and the font even has kind of a skeletal vibe to it, if you will. Also, very much looks like something you'd see on a biker vest or something like that, which isn't a bad thing. That's kind of what we were going for. You can see the skeletons were featured in this castle lineup. I can't remember the exact year, but they were battling the Crown Knights, which we've also redesigned in a previous video, and they had a couple of their own sets. You can see here they've got this wizard tower and this carriage. And for the logos, again, we focused on black and white, but we did mix in this dark red, which is similar to what they had on the shield and what the wizard throughout that theme had as his main color. But I really love this secondary logo. I kind of use that Lego bone piece to make a basketball line silhouette, and I think it's just one of those classic elements that is easily identifiable but looks pretty sharp. Nothing too crazy on the home and road uniforms. You can see we've drawn inspiration here from these spikes that are kind of like spiky bone rib pieces that Lego uses, and they're featured on this uniform. And then a little bit of a neat feature actually is using the white on white. You can see Sacramento did this a long time ago with the white word mark on the white uniform. It's not something you see often, but I think with the black and red border here, the numbers still pop, and we really wanted to have the bones be the focus here, skeletons. So I think overusing the white really works in this case, and it carries over nicely on the road uniform as well. I think this looks like a mean set. There's, you know, nothing too crazy about it, but the white with the touch of red really looks pretty cool. And on the alternate uniform, we've got something a little bit different. We've drawn inspiration for the color from the beard on this skeleton. Kind of funny when you think about skeletons having a beard, but the gray does work really well with the rest of the brand identity. And then these kind of dashed pinstripes are inspired by the sail piece on the skeleton sailboat. So really trying to tie in some of those Lego elements to these designs. And I think this one works really well. Again, the word mark with the border, black and red, pops beautifully on the jersey. And something completely wild perhaps on the city uniform, drawing inspiration from the wizard himself, perhaps the leader of the skeletons. And you can see his special weapon here is used as kind of the main inspiration for this jersey. A little crazy, a little 90s-ish, but I do like how this one turned out. Looking at all 4, again, white, black, a bit of that silver, and the red as the main colors. I think it's a good looking set overall. You've got 2 of your main uniforms a little bit simpler, and then perhaps the alternate and city are a bit crazier, but it's a nice set overall. And now we've got the Crown Lions, as we've named them, simply the Lions for many, and on the logo as well. But this is a Castle faction that really did focus on both the crown and lion elements, so I'm not sure what they were officially called, but we've named them the Crown Lions. You can see the lion on their shield and flags and everything, but a lot of their torso prints feature this crown element. So we tried to balance both of them throughout the identity. You can see the secondary logos here. There's one that's kind of just a crown emblem piece, and working with the white and blue split down the middle throughout. That's something that we've tried to carry through on the uniforms. You can see this side piping's inspired by kind of these banner pieces that they had, and overall really clean looking set. I do love kind of the simplicity of this word mark. It's cursive, it's got a nice little gold touch around the edges, very classy looking almost, if you will. And then on the road uniform, again, just swap the colors. The blue base I think looks great, the white and gold as well, nothing too crazy. It's interesting that this shorts detail actually ends up looking a little bit like a castle tower, so I do like how that worked out as well. And then on the alternate uniform, we've got something a bit different. You can see the shield element here has these kind of divots or whatever they are. We've kind of carried that out throughout the piping and siding of this uniform. Again, the duality of blue and white. And in this case, we've decided to use gold, which is really the main color of the line itself, with a lot of the black details there on the trim. And I think it's something a bit different for the alternate, but it works pretty good. And then on the city uniform, the focus was on navy. We thought about maybe doing gray or black, but as the king in this faction is predominantly navy, we thought it was appropriate to do that. And you can see this bold blue lion here on the uniform. And I just love how these shorts worked out. You know, the navy and the blue really, really sharp with just that white to balance things out. And so the whole set, you can see here, white, blue, gold, navy. Not much else to say. Really happy with how this one turned out as well. Next up, we've got the crowns, also known as the Crown Knights or the Pink Crown Knights. They were another faction from the Yellow Castle, one of the first. You can see this logo kind of similar to what the Clippers had back in the day. We just wanted to keep it simple with the word mark being the focus, the crown element, just something a little bit different from the rest of the logos we've designed. And you can see the full set here. We've got this nice cursive C with the crown, the word mark, the shield, and again, the colors are just very minimal in this case. It's the word mark with just a little bit of the pink basketball there. Pink is a tricky color to work with in sports design, so that's why we've kind of kept it as an accent, but still bold enough. And the whole brand is very LA-ish, if you will. You can see this kind of classic Lakers jersey, also very similar with the cursive script, the logo. You'll see later on there's a couple other Los Angeles elements in here as well. But starting off with the home uniform, simple design, but you can see this piping detail features these kind of subtle crowns throughout. And I mentioned Los Angeles also reappearing, so one of the first Lakers logos actually featured a lot of pink, which again is pretty rare in professional sports to see. But I actually like how it turned out here with the gold, also another tricky color to work with. So I have to say this was a tough one to design. And on the road uniform, we went with gold as the primary color. You can see a couple NBA teams have tried this in the past with this kind of shiny gold material. I think if this one was a bit more matte-like, it would probably work a bit better. But overall, I'm pleased with how this one turned out. You can see the gold base and the pop of gold, of pink and white. And on the alternate, focusing on the pink, it's been done before, but you can see just a few applications in the NBA where pink was the main color. I think Miami can rock it pretty good, Miami Vice, and Washington, of course, a nod to the cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. And what we've got here, you can see we've worked the logos a little bit to add some variety from the home and away uniform. So this one features a huge crown on the shorts. And then for the city uniform, really focused in on this, I call it dark graphite. This is a color that we saw on the Lego collectible minifigure that they brought back to represent the crowns. That minifigure also used kind of this slate light blue. I think that could have worked as well for an alternate, but given that we had pink, we wanted to kind of go the other end and something a bit meaner looking perhaps. And no need for the word mark on this one. I like how the crown worked out here. And on the shorts, we put the crown, but maybe in hindsight, the word mark would have worked a bit better here. Nonetheless, pretty sharp looking uniform. And here are the full 4 uniforms for the crowns. And that wraps up this video. So let's take a quick look at the teams that we went through today. Again, I'm really pleased with how these ones turned out. It is a lot of effort putting these together, putting the templates together. So I do hope you guys have enjoyed, and let us know in the comments your thoughts on these. And stay tuned because we've got one more video to wrap up our basketball league. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.